Hello, welcome to Chapter 3 Podcast, the show for readers of science fiction, fantasy, and romance. This is season 3, episode 22. And today we're talking about Witcher season 3, which
I don't know. I was waiting for you to hold up the book, and I was like, "Wait, there's
no book. There's no
back
book.
in the olden days, you could hold up a DVD, but
It's true. No, in fact, like for our final episodes, we're not talking about specific. Well, that's not true. I guess we'll talk about a variety of books in our final episode for best and worst of the year. But yeah, no, get a couple not specific book related episodes in a row. Yeah, so Witcher season 3. And normally I would mention like the Patreon, but really, like if you want to, you can join and get some bonus content before the end of the year, but then we will be ending in January. So, but if you would like to toss a coin to your podcasters and join us, we do offer exclusive bonus content for every episode, and this episode's bonus content will be fantasy adaptations, much like this fantasy adaptation. And if you want to rush and go watch all our back content before everything goes away, you are welcome to do that. So yeah. So I finished this, I don't know, month and a half ago, maybe. So I was still kind of late, and you just watched all of these.
yeah, I watched 6 episodes on what's today, Sunday. I watched 6 episodes on Friday, and then the last 2 yesterday.
That's a lot.
I don't know. It didn't seem like that much, honestly.
Okay. Maybe just because I don't watch that much usually. It takes me forever to get through stuff.
Honestly, that felt like less than watching like a single episode of Wheel of Time. In fairness, I had to watch Wheel of Time more slowly because I was taking notes as I was going. But even so, like, each of those episodes felt like 8 hours.
Oh man, that's rough. Well, so it maybe wasn't a terrible experience then. How was this?
So I think this is the best season of Witcher yet.
What?
That's my hot take.
That is so surprising because it's my least favorite season.
Yeah, you're not the only person that said that to me, which is one of the reasons it took me so long to watch it, because I already didn't really like the first 2 seasons. And then I didn't hear like a universal consensus or anything, but I feel like at the same time that it came out is when the news that Henry Cavill was leaving came out, and I felt like there was just like general negativity about it, and I didn't really like pay enough attention to discern whether people were saying the season was bad or they were just like annoyed about Henry leaving. I don't know, but I was just like getting bad vibes / I already didn't think the first 2 seasons were that great, and I was like, ugh, whatever, maybe I'll watch it, maybe I won't, I don't know. And so now obviously I watched it for this, and I was like, oh man, this is the best one. I mean, I cannot wait for Henry to leave because I have never liked him as Geralt, and I continue to loathe him as Geralt, perhaps worse than ever. But that's like neither that was to be expected. I feel like the problems that I have with season 3 are just things that are generally wrong with the show. They weren't like specific to season 3. And in fact, the things that I think are wrong with the show, they did slightly better in season 3, even with the stuff that's like not great and has never been great.
Interesting. I wonder, because I will say this is the first season I've watched since reading a significant number of the books.
You've read all the books.
I watched it kind of late in the game, and I do feel like I like Henry Cavill as Geralt a lot less having read the books. So I don't know, maybe that made me like this less.
Had you read, how far in the series were we when you watched season 3? Because it largely follows Time of Contempt. Had we read that yet when you watched it?
I feel like I probably read it when I was not far in to the season, because it took me a really long time it takes me forever to get through seasons of stuff. So I feel like I'd read most of the books.
Well, because I talked to somebody today that said that they hated season 3, but they also have not read the books, and so they were saying how confusing it was. And I was like, oh, well, for me, I was watching it going, wow, like aside from like specifics, like, characterization and the dialogue and whatever, I was like, generally speaking, the events of the season follow the books very closely. Like I would say broad strokes in terms of like, what are the plot developments? What are the world developments? What are the character big beats? Like it pretty much follows what happens in the book.
Yeah. I mean, largely, I guess they do make changes. Okay, like one of the things I hated the first couple episodes and the whole thing of them writing letters to each
Oh,
other
I
while
hated
they're
that as
living next
well.
to each other.
When I started it and I knew you hated it and I knew other people had hated it, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is stupid." But like we moved on from that pretty quickly, and after we got over the letter writing thing and the
Mhm.
like them being together, I don't know. It was weird.
It
I
was
didn't like
weird.
that.
I
It
was
felt
like,
like a
Why are we forcing the letters from the books into this situation where it doesn't
it
make any
felt like
sense?"
a Nicholas Sparks movie.
Yeah, it was weird.
So, but yeah, once we got over that and we went to more like the events of the book, you know, where we take her to Aretusa and we're getting the visions and like we're seeing the politics with the elves and the
Mhm.
clashing there and the big like political shenanigans that are taking place at Aretusa, like all that stuff. I was like, all right, okay, yeah, this is like the book.
Yeah, I do think it got better, like, in the middle of the season. I also didn't like I think I didn't like the bookends is really what it is. Like, I didn't like the first couple episodes, and I really liked the last couple episodes. The middle ones were, like, pretty good, I thought.
What was wrong with the last couple episodes?
I'm trying to remember, like, what I don't know. The whole thing with Siri in the desert was kind of weird to
It's
me.
kind of like what happens in the book, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
I guess. It
Like,
just
she meets
didn't.
a little horse when she's, like, in dire straits, and she gets, like, you know, visions and weird dreams, and she's in a time of, she's presented with visions of horrors, and she relinquishes her power because of that. Like, that's
Yeah,
what happens in the books.
yeah. I think I just didn't picture it the same way, maybe, is part of it. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but it was
I mean, in
something.
general, I think one of the things that I've complained about from the beginning is how they've characterized and portrayed Siri's character.
Yeah.
Partly the actress they've chosen, partly how it's written, the fact that she was a lot older when they met already. So all this kind of like Geralt and Yennefer are her parents thing really feels strange when she looks barely younger than either of them. Um, and we don't see her kind of growing up with Geralt.
Yeah.
So it just feels very strange. And then I also just think that the way she is in the books, if I had to like do a shorthand way of describing her would be that she's the personality of Arya Stark in the body of Daenerys Targaryen, and that like that is not at all how the actress who's playing her slash the screenwriters who are writing her are portraying her in the show.
Yeah. I think I also this is kind of dumb, and this is not but, like, in those desert scenes, I, like, couldn't stop noticing how well moisturized her lips were even when she was, like, dying of dehydration.
Oh, I mean, so like in general, I feel like the show is very like the CW version of The Witcher, but I
Mhm.
also feel like season 3 as compared to 1 and 2, everything about the look of it is also improved. Is it
Mhm.
ideal? No. Are the costumes and hair choices very strange sometimes? Yes. But it looks much higher quality, much better thought out, much better
Mhm.
like bigger budget. Like Yennefer looks so much better now than she did in season 1, like in terms of how they're styling her as well. Like they had this like heavy eyeshadow on her with quite short hair before in very modern outfits, and now
Yeah.
she has this flowing long raven hair with minimal makeup, and I was like, yes, I believe that you're a sorceress in this world now. Like that looks so much better. And like Ciri's hairdo, it's very cool. I like how it looks, but also it makes zero sense that while they're traveling around, I'm like, who is styling her hair like this every
Right,
day?
it's
Like,
so
who makes her
impractical.
look like this? So like stuff like that, I'm like, that breaks my immersion.
Yeah.
But like I still think it looks better than it did before. So it's like, is it bad? Yes, but is it worse than the first 2 seasons? No.
I think I didn't notice it as much in the first 2 seasons, and again, I don't know how much of it is that I've now I'd, like, read the books, and I was more, like, thinking about, "Okay, how does this compare to, like, what I remember happening?" Um, but yeah, her lips being moisturized in the desert, I was like, "Oh, okay." Everything else is, like, super dehydrated, but you've got moisturized lips. Good. Okay. I don't know.
I was like
Um,
glad that they made her actually look kind of haggard. Like her skin looked like it was peeling and like
yeah.
she still had the like hair in her face. And I was like, if I would have like pulled that
Yeah.
back immediately, but we have to have the weird
Of
flowing thing
course.
going on.
I know, I was like, "Why are we only, like, now realizing, oh, I could put something over my head to get out of the sun?
But
Why
again,
did
like,
that?"
I did appreciate that, like, she looked like her face was burned and her neck,
Right,
like, was, like, peeling and stuff. I was like, "She looks like not how she would actually look, if this were to happen," but,
right.
like, they've made an effort to make her look pretty haggard.
Yeah, true. It's true.
But yeah, I
Um,
cannot stand Henry Cavill as Geralt. This is just
yeah.
I just continue to hate it more and more.
He
And I think
had
I hated
yeah,
it more now than I have ever before, one, because I've been, like, trying to, like, convince myself that, like, "Well, maybe it's fine, like, just try to see the good in it," like, and I just cannot, and I've given up trying. But also, I think that, like, now that we've moved on from Monster of the Week, like, a lot of the book series is about these, like, weighty philosophical questions that, like, hang on Geralt to convey, and he's completely incapable of conveying any kind of emotion. I do not believe that Henry Cavill's Geralt gives a single shit about a person or a situation, about anything at all in the world. Like, nothing.
yeah. I mean, I feel like he's very one note, but also they also don't got give him a lot of great dialogue to work with. Sometimes I'm like, "Di he hasn't said
Yeah,
anything."
but a good actor tells the story on their face. Like, Geralt is supposed to be this, like, stoic, on the surface, very emotionless guy. And so people who don't know him personally are like, oh, yeah, well, Witchers, do they even have emotion? He's a mutant. He feels nothing. So, like, he's supposed to, like, not really say much and kind of, like, be really stoic. But, like, I mean, Aragorn barely says a word in Lord of the Rings, but his character feels a lot of things, and you know it because Viggo Mortensen conveys it in his body language and on his face.
Yeah.
And an
Yeah.
actor like Carl Urban, who should be Geralt, is capable of looking like somebody who wants to present himself as stoic, and yet the audience can see the cracks and see, like,
Right.
that this is bothering him and he's trying to hide it. Like, a good actor is supposed to show that instead of being, well, I'm supposed to not show emotion, so I'm convincingly looking like I feel nothing. I'm like, great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think more and more having read the books, I don't like it either. I mean, I think going into season 1, it was fine, but also I'd only read The Last Wish, and I also think there wasn't as much plot happening there, so, like, it kind of didn't matter
Not as
as
much
much.
nuance. Like, a lot of it
Right.
is these, like, little anecdotal fairy tale stories where he kills a monster and it's this twist question of, like, what was right and what was wrong. And
Mhm.
it's like, he still didn't do a great job. A better actor would have had more depth in the performance, but it's like it's adequate for what we're doing. But when we're the questions that are coming up by this point in the series about neutrality and about, like, the greater, like, philosophical and political questions that, like, Sapkowski and the show are attempting now to, like, tackle,
Mhm.
Henry Cavill is incapable of carrying that, and it's down to him to do it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
And the way that I feel like every single actor in the show, I don't really like Siri that much, but I don't know how much I can blame the actress because a lot of it is, like, how it's being written for her and how she's being
Yeah.
directed. I've never seen her in anything else, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is how it's written. So even if a different actress would be better, I don't like how the show is characterizing her. So anyway, I still think all the actors in the show are better than Henry Cavill at acting, and all of them, I feel like, are doing their best to, like, act around this lifeless lump and to, like, they're all talking about him as if he's this charismatic, magnetic personality that they're all like, oh, he would do anything for us, and we have to go find Geralt. And they're really trying to sell it, and they're doing their most. And you're like, wow, that sounds like an amazing person. Show me. And it's this lump of flesh that's just there. Like one of in, like, the last episode or second last episode, when Yennefer and Geralt are, like, again reunited, and she's, like, explaining and she's upset, and they're gonna, like, they're together now, but they're gonna be parted again, and she's, like, talking about her emotions about it, and she's really selling it, and he's just giving nothing. Just she could be acting, like, opposite a pillow. Like, it's just nothing.
Yeah. Not helping anybody, yeah. Whereas it was interesting because I think watching this and having read the books, I was wa it w was an interesting experience seeing Tissaia and, what's his name? The guy she was with,
Dylan Gafortz.
Vilgefortz, yeah. So seeing their relationship it was like watching, you know, a train wreck coming because I knew this is not gonna go well, but I liked him so much, like, I wanted you know, like
He's a much better actor than Henry Cavill.
he is, it's true, but, like, I wanted them to be happy together, and it was so and I was like, "No, wait, I know who he is, like, this is not gonna be good," and I was like, "Oh," like, still so sad
Yep.
for her. Yeah.
I also don't like how the show, and this is again, I definitely do not blame the actor. I like the actor they chose for Jaskier. I
Mhm.
don't like how they're writing his character. And it's getting worse and worse. It doesn't help that I cannot possibly believe that this character would feel any kind of way about that lump of flesh over there that we're calling Geralt. But like, so like, it's hard for me to believe that at all. But then also, they've made his character so annoyingly quippy in a way that's like not how he is in the books. Because in the
Yeah.
books, he's kind of annoying, but like not the way he's in the show. The show is just like I feel like the most immersion breaking character is Yaskier.
I think that's fair. I think they're trying to give him something else with the prince or king whoever and that kind of side relationship, which I do think was kind of an interesting addition seeing you know where like both of them kind of have masks that they wear externally and then like trying to get beneath it, but I don't know that that's necessarily enough to save what they're doing with Yaskier. I feel like I don't know. He needs a little more gravity.
It's not, I mean, like, whatever, like the plot line with him is like decent enough. It's more
Mhm,
just like the way that they like write these quippy lines that just suddenly like take you out of the story and take you out of any feeling of stakes in like
mhm.
the situation because he's reacting like a Marvel character to like the stuff that's going on. And it's like that's not what we're doing here. You know,
Yeah,
like read the room.
yeah,
this, this isn't it.
it's fair. Um, so what did you like about this season? Because you thought I mean, you've covered a few things, but
Well, yeah, I think it's like since the beginning of the show, this was the most that I felt like, oh, we're doing the books. Like I recognize these plot lines and these arcs and what we're doing, and like this is looking like the books. And then in terms of again the look of everything, like is it perfect? No. Is it still kind of leaning towards like CW esque, you know, costuming and makeup and stuff? Yes, but it still looks way higher budget in terms of cinematography and the editing and the costuming and the makeup and the hair. All of it just looks a million times better than it did in season 1 and season 2. And then because these plot lines that are from the books, these bigger, more overarching plot lines that aren't just Geralt fighting the monster of the week, then I think the other actors who are so much better than Henry Cavill, they really get to shine in their own plot lines. And it's not some, it's like last season. I mean, the actress that plays Yennefer is a good actress, but they did this like weird made up plot line for her that doesn't exist in the books in season 2. And in season 3, we're kind of like getting back on course to what Yennefer is supposed to be doing and what
yeah.
like challenges she's supposed to have. And it was really a joy to see a really talented actress who's looking better in terms of costuming and hair really
Mhm.
get to shine as like Yennefer and in the plot line more or less that Yennefer has in the books. And then like again, the actress, I don't like the characterization of Ciri, but if I accept that this is kind of like an alternate universe of Ciri where she's not like she is in the books, okay, this version of Ciri, let's go with it. And I think like this actress did kind of like at first, it was very annoying in the beginning, but like by the time we get to the desert and she's like relinquishing her power and when she like joins the rats, like I think we did see a similarly satisfying arc for Ciri that we do in the books where it's like it feels earned that she's trained, that she's been challenged, that she's changed, that she's had emotional turmoil, and that all of this has been like a really rough way to grow up,
Yeah.
and that like it's like sharpened her into something not nice but necessary.
Mhm.
And I think yeah, I think it's not perfect. We are not at HBO, but we're a step above CW now, and we weren't before.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I wonder if because I didn't have as good of an experience watching this as I had previous seasons, but I do this looking back, I feel like that may just be because this time I'd read the books, and maybe if I had read the books previously, I would have felt less good about the first couple seasons. That seems reasonable.
So for the first time, you were like, "Hey, this isn't like the books." As opposed to the first few seasons, you're like, "Oh."
Seems fine to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I got just particularly annoyed at the first couple episodes on the letters thing and the whole, like, them living in houses nearby and not talking to each other. I was like, "This is so stupid. Why are we
Right.
doing this for a whole episode?"
I did not care for that.
No. Yeah. I'm like, "You're really not doing much to
But
build
I
Geralt
also
and
think
Yen's
that this
relationship."
season was paced a lot better, and part of it is that, like, again, the books go from being these episodic adventures to having a proper narrative, so that
Mhm.
if we're following the books, we start with something that's kind of all over the place in terms of timeline and in terms of what we're doing, and then we move to a more, like, you know, overarching, consistent chronological narrative. So, like,
Mhm.
that's partly just because of where we are in the series, but I just think that the way that it was paced, like, it was so much better, and it's also because comparing it to Wheel of Time, which is my most recent, outing with a terrible adaptation. Um, like, it was like a running joke in my videos about Wheel of Time that kind of started as, just like I don't know, it started because I noticed it in particular in one scene, but it was a problem with the entire show. So I just kept pointing it out by, like, every time that it would cut to something, I would say cut to. And the thing is, I would say cut to more often than I would say anything else because I'd be like, these characters said one thing to each other, cut to some other character somewhere else saying one thing to each other, cut to some other characters somewhere else saying one thing to each other, cut to a brief shot of this battle, cut to. And like The Witcher, like, at least, like, I mean, for the second to last episode, we stay with Siri for like
Yeah.
70% of that episode. We're not like, show some of that, cut to this, show some of that, cut to this. Like, we let, like, dramatic and tense things, like, play themselves out. We let conversations play themselves out. We let, like, these, like, scenes, like, have gravity and weight, and you stay with it, and you stay with the emotion, and you stay
Mhm.
with what it's building towards. It's not like trying to fake a feeling of momentum in the plot by just cutting around so much that, like, it's like the Rise of Skywalker thing of, like, you won't notice that there's the bad or no plot because we just keep cutting to different things, and you're like, I'm not dumb. I can tell there's nothing happening, but also this is dizzying. Like, so, like, I was just like, the fact that, like, it wasn't boring, like, we would stay with something, but it wouldn't outstay its welcome. Like, we would get to see something and really kind of, like, sink our teeth into it emotionally and with the plot and kind of, like, have a building of tension within a scene. We didn't have to, like, fake the tension by having a conversation abruptly end and we just cut away to something else. It's like, that's not actual tension. That's just randomly cutting away from something. It's like, oh, wonder where that conversation was going to go. I guess we won't find out because tension. Like, that's like, you know what I mean? So, like, The Witcher
Mhm.
was, like, confident in its plot
Yeah.
enough to be like, this is a tense situation. This is a complicated situation. These characters are in a troubling situation. Like, let's just, like, be there with
Yeah.
them in it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would generally agree with that. I did feel like the episode with Siri in the desert was a bit much. I was like, "Okay, could we maybe do something else also?"
But I appreciated it also because of in terms of, like, getting you immersed in what she's going through.
Right.
It's like this feeling of, like, endless desert is, like,
True.
you kind of you get that feeling because
Mhm.
you're there with her like that, and it almost kinda reminded me of Dune, um, which is also pretty good at making you feel like you're out there in the desert and like, "Oh,
Yeah,
no."
yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. I think it was interesting to see them start to put pieces into place for what's next. So, Siri joining the rats, um, we've got Geralt getting his knee injury and, well, more than a knee injury, but, like, almost dying basically and ending up in the with the forest people trying to be healed, introducing new characters. What I am really wondering about though is how they're going to make that transition of the actor, because I kept thinking, I'm like, they could, like, he's seriously injured. They could do something plot wise where it would make sense for him to look different. That's not the direction they went. So I'm just wondering
Oh, I don't
how,
think they're gonna comment on it. It just, like, in the next season, the person who's Geralt is just a different actor.
I guess. It seems weird when it's like your main
It
character.
is weird, but I think it would be worse to, like, invent a plot line to makes his face alteration, like, it's like it's the elephant in the room, but you're just like, okay, like, it's kind of like Mark Hamill, his face got wrecked between episode 4 and episode 5.
Mhm.
And they're not like, they didn't like write in a reason in Star Wars for him to be in like a weird ship crash and be like, oh, Luke's face is messed up now. They're just like, that's just how he looks now. So look, nothing needs to be said.
I guess. I don't know. It feels so I don't know. I guess I never really it always just feels weird to me when you suddenly get
Well, and
a
like
different
they
actor.
swapped Katie Holmes for Maggie Gyllenhaal in the Batman movies. And they didn't do like a why does Rachel suddenly look like a complete different person? Like that's just Rachel now. Okay, we're moving on.
Yeah, I guess. I I think it always bugs me when I see stuff like that. I'm like, "Okay, but
But I think it's worse if they draw it because, like in The Matrix, they did draw attention when the
yeah,
article changed to a different actress. They wrote in a stupid reason where she's like, "Oh, blah 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 happened with the machines, and now I have to look like this." And it's like, is that better? That makes it dumber. We all know it's a different actor. Now we had to have the plot also suffer for it. Like that's two bad things now.
yeah, yeah, I guess I'm on the fence about it. I'm like, I agree. I guess that like writing in a reason is also kind of dumb, but there's a part of me that feels more satisfied having a reason in the plot, even if it's a stupid one.
I guess I just think of it as like if you're watching a play, like and they have different actors playing the characters, like the character is still the same character. These are just different players performing the role. Like if I see Othello multiple times, I'm not like, why is this a different face from the last Othello I saw? It's like it's because it's a different actor. But the character is still Othello.
Yeah, I just think plays in my brain are different.
Wow. I
Yeah.
honestly think that Henry Cavill's such a nothing that I won't even notice. Actually, we will notice because suddenly Geralt will be like a human being with emotions, and I'll be like, oh, look at who
Well,
decided
so
to not be a sociopath.
I am kind of curious to see how it's gonna go. I don't know what to expect in terms of acting ability, to be honest.
I don't think Liam Hemsworth is like the next who's like universally regarded as Daniel Day-Lewis. But
No.
like I do think he's a better actor than Henry Cavill, which is an admittedly low bar, but he
Mhm.
is better.
I don't know if I've seen him in much, so I just am not
Like,
sure.
just in the little bits of the Hunger Games he's in, because he doesn't
Yeah,
have that much to say, but I think he conveys more emotion in the in the no lines and in the very few lines that he has than Henry Cavill managed in the entire 3 seasons of Witcher that we
I
just saw.
mean, I guess so. This is probably why playing Superman works for Henry Cavill because you kind of expect him to not have a lot of emotion.
Oh, you're like, "Oh, yeah, he's an alien." That
Right, it
that checks out.
works. It's fine.
We wouldn't expect him to have human emotions, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we'll see how it goes. I'm very curious to see what
I don't think it'll be worse. Like, maybe it won't be better. I think it will be better, but it can't
yeah,
be worse.
it would be interesting to see if there was more chemistry between him and the actress
Well,
playing Yennefer.
also, I think with all the actors, because like when Henry was
Yeah,
leaving, I saw like these like compilation things of like the cast commenting on Henry Cavill as like oh, to work with him and we're gonna miss him, whatever. And it felt so forced. It felt like they were trying so hard to think of a thing to say that they could kind of mean. And it was the most like say a lot of words without saying anything kind of things that they were saying, like, oh yeah, he was like always there and like he was Geralt for sure. He was Geralt, and that will be
yeah.
different now. So yeah, I was
Oh,
like,
man.
they hate him. Like,
Well, there was stuff going around TikTok, and I never tracked down, like, where it came from, but there were definitely whispers that he was not great to work with and that a lot of people had issues with him,
he
so,
seems like he'd be a diva.
yeah.
So
So, we'll see. Maybe it'll be much better.
again, it can't be worse. He was bringing it all down. So
I've gotta say, I am so surprised that your take was, "This was so much better."
I know I laughed because when I was watching it, I remembered you saying like that you'd be so surprised if I liked it better than you, and I'm like, well, surprise!
Surprise! Oh, man. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I do think that this spent more time on other characters and their relationships where you kind of built it out, like, really especially the relationship between Yen and Tisea, we see a lot more of that. I think we get so much like, you feel something.
And yeah, even though like, you know, the non-book reader friends or friend was like, I found it confusing. I frankly can't imagine that this would be more confusing than season one, which was completely out of order in terms of chronology. So
Right.
like I was like, I think in this season we really get more of a sense of like what are the political goals of the various factions and what are the factions and who is aligned with who and why they are aligned and why we
Mhm.
are at war. I feel like in the first two seasons it was like vaguely battling happening and you're like why who
Yeah.
what and here I think we did get a better like I think the party in Aretusa
Mhm.
I loved how they did that episode where they
It
like
was cool.
yeah where they like kept replaying it and giving you more information each time. I thought
Mhm.
that was very clever.
Yeah, I liked that too. It was unexpected and I yeah, I thought
And
that
it was
was
Henry Cavill's best performance in the
Yes!
entire
Yes,
season.
I was just thinking that,
It
like,
wasn't great, but it was the best.
it was definitely better. Well, because he had to actually, like, do things where he was, like, faking it as Geralt,
Yeah.
and so I think that was better. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I'm also glad, you know, Siri wasn't, like, right next door when he and Yen were getting it on. Instead, she was off in a cabin in the woods, you know?
Oh, I also loved the scene where Ciri and Jaskier are watching, Yennefer and Geralt from afar and doing their dialogue for them while they're watching them talk, and they're
Yeah.
like, "How could you do blah, 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 blah?" She's like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah." And they're both like, "Yeah, that's exactly what that's good, that is what they would say."
That was really funny. Yeah, I liked how their relationship developed. I do think that this season did a better job of, like, really building out other character relationships
And
more
also
so.
making, I feel like, the world feel more like a lived in fantasy world with like
Yeah,
I have a sense of who is who, where is where, what is going on in this world. And
yeah.
it yeah, except for when Yasuo would make a Marvelesque joke and I'd be out of it. But like yeah, I think because of the all over the placeness of the previous seasons and again like the shoddy costuming and the much worse sets, much worse lighting, much worse editing in the first two seasons, it felt like a student film at a Renaissance fair before and
Mhm.
now I felt immersed in a different world and I felt immersed in like the characters and politics.
Yeah.
Hated Henry Cavill, but that's just been true for the entire time. So that's not specific to season three. His wig looked better in season three, so that's good.
I guess now looking back, I also feel like this season wasn't trying as hard to be like, "Hey, we're being sexy all the time."
Which I think is true of like most of these types of shows. Like Game of Thrones opened with like the first season, first couple seasons being like, how can we get a tit in here? And like by as we moved on, like we were like, okay, no one has time for tits. We've got like politics and battle to be doing. And like
Got other
it got
things to
steadily
worry
less tits
about.
as we went. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's true of a lot of like stuff like this that are like try to hook you with like, ooh, look how gory, look how sexy. And like
Right.
then they were like, whatever, we have plot to do.
Yeah.
We don't have time for this.
Yeah. So, you know, it was nice. You know, every time Yen was on screen, she wasn't topless. It's cool. Mm,
And I've for all three seasons, I have really liked the music. I think the not just like Yaskier was singing, I mean like the score for like the background music. I really like the
mm,
vibe of it. It has like it doesn't sound like generic fantasy adaptation music because like I think they've really leaned into a sound that more evokes like this kind of like Eastern European kind of vibe and sound, which to like you know
yeah.
kind of like pay homage to the source of
Yeah.
the stories.
I feel like you're talking me into liking this better than I thought I did and realizing I really just really, really hated a couple episodes.
It's my goal in life is to make you hate the things you thought you loved and love the things you
Love the
thought you
things I thought
hated.
you hated. Mission accomplished.
All right. Yeah, no, I was sad that I actually like I would have watched the whole thing in one night, but I like kind of specifically wanted to like save some for the next day. Um So I had the last 2
Okay, well,
episodes
I'm
on.
glad it wasn't a miserable viewing experience for
I
you.
know when I sat down to watch it originally, I was like, "Ugh, why did I agree to do this?" And then it opened with the stupid letter writing thing, and I was like, "Ugh." But then
Yeah,
I
that
kept
was
watching, and I realized that by like halfway through episode 3, I was like, "I'm having a great time.
mhm, yeah.
I'm into this."
Yeah, I do feel like things got a lot better at episode 3. I feel like the first 2 episodes, I was like, "Oh my gosh, if this doesn't get better, I'm gonna stop watching this show." And then episode 3, I was like, "Okay, this is getting better." So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like, other things we might wanna talk about.
Was there anything else you hated about it that we haven't talked about?
Is there? I don't know. I feel like yeah, the letter writing, that whole episode was terrible, just generally terrible.
It was
Like,
very silly.
so stupid. Um, and I think it was supposed to be romantic, and it was not romantic,
It felt like a Nicholas Sparks movie.
but worse. It was like I was like, "Why?" I'm also like, "Why, as we're traveling around, are we, like, living in separate places? Why are we giving each other silent treatment like we're grown adults co-parenting a child? Like, what the hell is happening?"
The child that looks like she's the same age as you, and someone is styling her hair, and
I just figure she's, like, a teenager, and they look really good for their ages.
I mean, in fairness, they are supposed to be a lot older than they look, but still.
Yeah.
But again, like, even though we've seen a lot more screen time of Geralt and Ciri together,
Mhm.
I found much more convincing the relationship between Yennefer and Ciri because
Yeah.
those 2 are good actors. And then there's just Geralt who's
Yeah.
like, "Ciri, good job today.
Yeah.
I'm Geralt. I have no
Yeah.
emotions."
No, I mean, I think you're totally right, and that is supposed to be the central relationship, well, one of the central relationships, but yeah, between Ciri and Geralt. Yeah. It'll be interesting to
It also
see.
really bothers me, and has bothered me the entire 3 seasons,
Yeah.
that Henry Cavill has dark stubble. Like, either have a clean-shaven face or a white beard, but dark stubble makes the gray white wig look even worse and more fake, like
I mean, I guess. I think it's on purpose though, because like, you can't have him be clean shaven, he's
I
supposed to be
agree, then white
stubble,
stubble or white beard.
or at least, like, gray, some gray.
Something.
It could be, like, a mix.
But it really makes it look extra fake.
I
And,
think
like,
it's
all the art of Geralt has a white beard.
yeah, that's true. Maybe he didn't wanna dye his beard.
Oh, well, actors have to do stuff like that, poor baby. Also, it's a beard, like, it grows stubble like that grows in a couple days, like, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it is interesting because he does have, like, a full beard in a lot of art, doesn't he?
And all the video games and all the book covers and all the fan art, he's got a beard and it's white. That
I
too, I mean,
wonder.
it always bothered me that they didn't go full white with his wig, that, like, they did,
Yeah.
like, a salt and pepper kinda thing, I guess, to sort of it go with the dark stubble on his face, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, "He's the White Wolf. He's the white-haired Witcher." Like, it's, like, pretty significant to his description/character.
Yeah. I do wonder why they decided not to go with the beard. Was it
Probably
like
because
a
Henry Cavill thought that he didn't look as hot. He'd look too much like Santa Claus.
I mean, I guess that's fair.
But I mean, like, as far as I can tell, I forget if they've actually said it outright in the books, but like the vibe for his hair being white is that it's like a mutation that's like made his hair kind of like albino, like that it's like devoid of color. Not
Yeah,
that it's like kind of pale or kind of blonde or that he's going
right.
gray like a human like normally does. It's that like the whatever in you puts color in your hair is like gone. It's like your body is like been because of the mutations, like a side effect of that is that there's like no like color in your hair.
Well, that's what gray hair is.
But the fact that like gray hair is like some of the hair has started to do that, but the rest of it still has color, and that's why you get the salt and pepper thing going on. But if
Yeah,
your mutation has been like no color in your hair, that's not because you're going gray. It's like
right.
nothing, no color, white hair.
Or at least all silver or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Well, and the thing is too with a beard, it's not like you have to have like a long beard. You could just have like a very short
Again,
beard.
most of the fan art of Geralt has just like a short, like clean looking beard.
Mhm. Well, who knows? We'll see what we get in season 4 whenever that happens.
I also
Which
feel like I know that Geralt is like big and strong, but Henry Cavill's muscliness always looked like cumbersome and like he's like it just added to him just kind of looking ineffectual. Like when they would make a big deal about how fast he is and what a great fighter he is, I'm like, he looks like he's like too muscly to move fast. Like, like he looks like he's bursting out of his clothes, like because he's like legitimately like too muscly. Like,
I mean, I don't think that's gonna change
I mean,
with,
Liam Hemsworth is not nearly as bulked up as Henry
well,
Cavill is.
depending
Like
on
he's
what they do.
muscular, but he's no Thor.
Leave that to his brother.
Plus, just in terms of like how they've always looked in movies, like since before he was Superman, Henry Cavill is just kind of like a thicker built person,
Mhm.
which is absolutely fine. But it just for the character of Geralt, who's supposed to be this like pirouetting, like rapid mutant who like moves like with supernatural speed, he always looked incapable of that to me in the show. Partly because of how they dressed him too. I feel like they put him in these pants that looked like they were too tight for him because like then we can see his wonderful backside, but like in terms of him being able to fight, it looks like his pants would like restrict his ability to like do the things he needs to do to like quickly fight.
Yeah, I don't think that's the goal of the costuming in this show.
Well, that's why I really liked how they did Yennefer's costuming this season, where she was wearing, a little CW-ish stuff where it's like, I don't know if that wholly makes sense, but these kind of like airy pants that looked like comfortable and easy to move around in.
Mhm.
I loved how they did her hair. Like she looked kind of like semi-medieval, semi-modern. Like, and you'd
Yeah,
think sorceresses, okay, sorceresses probably have their own idea of style. So like the fact that she looks different from your average peasant also fits. So like
right.
she looks so much better than when she like wore these like Xena the Warrior Princess inspired outfits.
Yeah, it makes more sense for what she does.
I did not like series like Abercrombie and Fitch like fur-lined vest. That was silly.
It's a look, you know, it's fine.
It was a look. I think the vest costuming like overall was I liked how Yennefer looked in
Mhm.
season 3.
Okay, okay, interesting. Um, I guess we haven't really talked about the elves.
About them like plot wise or costuming or
I mean,
those or
either. We haven't talked about them at all.
I feel like they're not really like characterized as being characters. Like there's no like elf characters that were meant to like be particularly attached to.
Well, I feel like the queen, sort of.
More so,
Yeah,
but not really her either.
yeah.
I really like the actress that they've chosen for her. I
Mm.
think she's a lot more charismatic than Geralt.
Yep, I would agree. And then the woman who she's friends with, what I don't remember everybody's names, but
Oh, Fringilla.
yes, Fringilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's an interesting character, and kind of what she goes through is intense.
Yeah.
Um, oh, and then all the like the assassins and everything, all the like political. There's just so much with political intrigue. There's just I feel like we got a lot more time
Away from Geralt, thank God.
away from Geralt. Yeah, yeah,
That's why I enjoy season 3 so much more. Less Geralt.
yeah, yeah. It was interesting.
I feel like it was easier to follow the various political intrigues and
I think
machinations and
so.
why
Yeah.
they were happening and why you should care about them.
Yes. I
Which
agree.
again, like in theory, they did a much better job kind of like setting up the situation that then Geralt is supposed to be this kind of like the person around whom these things are happening and is insisting on being neutral about it. And like how we're supposed to like go through this plot with him and kind of watch neutrality be not an option and watch him come to that realization. But we watched him physically be present for that and then be physically present for the part where he says a line about no longer being neutral. So not really an emotional arc there, but
No. Yeah, not the emotion part. But there was a step. Maybe. Maybe not.
like the screenwriters wrote like a decent arc there in terms of the whole storyline with everybody and then what Geralt sees happen and what would make him change his mind. It's just Henry Cavill did nothing with it. So
yeah. Well, hopefully, whenever we get season 4, it'll be better. Which I don't even know what to expect, because with the strike finally just ending, I mean, I'm guessing they haven't done anything with season 4.
I would imagine not.
So it's probably going to be a while. Also, I'm still bummed that they canceled Shadow and Bone.
Yep. They're about to do the Six of Crows heist, too.
They were going to do a spin-off show. They had scripts written.
Yep. I honestly suspect that a lot of more expensive shows, like the historical and fantasy type of shows, are going to be scrapped by a lot of different streaming services and networks because it's an easy way to recoup what they lost during the strike, because those are the most costly to produce. So by simply not producing them, you are making a savings in terms of the cost of production.
Right. It really sucks, though, because that was such a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are shooting themselves in the foot long term. Like, I get in the short term why you would make a decision like that. Let's cut the most costly things we make to, you know, to boost our revenues. But that also means that you're going to have shittier stuff that, you know, like, well, I get it, but I don't get it.
How long are people going to keep paying for your streaming service if there's nothing worth watching? So I don't know.
It's being penny wise and pound foolish.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see. I mean, I'm still like, because I'm still watching Witcher. I'm still watching Bridgerton. So I'm, you know.
Well, I mean, there's certain shows that I'm certain that they will also never cut because they are their flagship shows. Like Stranger Things is going nowhere. Like people, it's like one of the biggest, like most popular, most recognizable properties owned by Netflix. But the smaller ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you know what I'm watching right now, actually, and really enjoying is Wednesday.
What? Didn't that come out last year?
Yeah, but I never saw it. And
I was like, is there a new season?
No. I just hadn't watched it. And we were like, oh, we need something else to watch now that we're done with like Witcher. And so I was like, well, let's try this. And it's really fun.
I initially liked Wednesday, but ultimately was really, really annoyed at how it doesn't make any sense, like the plot line that they wrote for Wednesday. Because like the character of Wednesday / the Addams family, like they revel in death and they revel in like pain and suffering. And that's what's adorable and quirky about the Addamses. And so then like they emphasize that in the first couple episodes, as they always do, that the Addamses are like glorious pain, suffering, we love it. But then like as the show goes on, it's like a really normal plot where it's like a bad thing is happening and our main character is trying to prevent the bad thing from happening. It's like, but shouldn't Wednesday be like into the bad thing happening? Because it's, ooh, pain, death, we love it. Like it doesn't make any sense that this is the plot you wrote for Wednesday.
That's fair. I'm just really enjoying it. I also just think that Jenna Ortega's performance is really good.
Yeah, well, the first couple episodes, I really, really, really liked it. And I thought that like all her like sarcastic lines about enjoying pain and suffering were hysterical, but they don't make any sense as the show goes on. And it's like, wait a minute.
It's fair. I feel like she's supposed to be experiencing growth though, Leanna.
But no, because like they still characterize her as like liking pain and death, but then her actions say the opposite. And it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I don't know. So far,
I think they also shouldn't have put her in a school of other weirdos, because the whole point of the Addams is that they are the weirdos, and it's
Yeah.
the hilarity of the Addams is how they're so different from the normies, and it's like that juxtaposition that's funny. But Wednesday is like the least weird person in the whole school. So it's like, can they
Well,
have just
it's
like put her
because
in like a regular boarding
people like
school?
magical schools. It's because people like watching magical school stories.
But then you should have just written a magical school thing and not involved the Addamses, because this doesn't make sense. Like, I think it would be really fun if they had just done a normal boarding school, because if the boarding school is what people like,
Yeah.
and have everyone be like normal at this normal boarding school, and Wednesday Addams being the weird Wednesday Addams at the normal boarding school.
I do think that would be very entertaining. But I'm also enjoying what they did for now. I think I'm like 4 episodes in.
Could have been way better, is all I'm saying.
Well, maybe you should just become one of the writers for these shows and tell them what to do.
I don't know. What I've seen in the news has made me think that that's not a great way to go. Doesn't seem like they're treated all that well.
That is true. But they did have a successful strike this year, which is great.
But they need a strike.
Yeah. Well, anything else on season 3, the Witcher books?
Well, I do hope that people don't ditch The Witcher on principle because of Liam Hemsworth taking over. Because, oh my god, guys, Henry Cavill is not awesome. Do not, like, boycott on his behalf. He left by choice. They didn't kick him out. Like, he wasn't great anyway.
Well,
this is a good thing.
Like, there are so many other great actors in the show.
Yeah. And Liam Hemsworth is not worse.
I mean, worst case scenario, he might be the same.
No, he'll definitely be at least marginally better. Because at the very least, I don't think Liam Hemsworth has the kind of ego that Henry Cavill has. So he'll be less of a diva for everyone to work with, which will just be like a better vibe on set, and everyone will just have a better time working with him, and that will show.
We hope. So we'll see what happens. In a year, probably, whenever
I have prophetic capabilities, and I have seen the future. I have visions like Siri.
Oh.
And I've seen the future of The Witcher, and it's not bad. It's not bad.
Have you gone into a desert yet? No, because you still have your powers.
I live in a desert, ma'am. It's called Los Angeles.
That's a good, fair point. That's my entire existence. What are you talking about?
I'm waiting on Little Horse to rescue me.
You know, I did think it was interesting how they did the unicorn thing, because like the horn looked like kind of almost creepy and like spindly, like it was actually, I don't know. I feel like they did a decent job of, it didn't look like
it didn't look like My Little Pony.
No.
Yeah.
Looks like a horse.
Little horse.
Yeah. Okay, well, I feel like that's most of it. Surprise. It was, Leanna actually liked it.
It turns out the title of this episode is big
changing
switcheroo.
Yes. I'll be rewriting the title of the episode before it goes
I don't know. It has a question mark on it. I think it can stay.
It could. Worst season yet? Because
that was the question we opened with, you being like, I think it's the worst, isn't it? And I was like, no. In this essay, I will.
Surprise. I mean, the other, the alternate episode title would be something like, Leanna actually likes some. No, I feel like we could stay with this. This is fine. So we do on my radar sharing upcoming book releases, or I'm excited about. I don't know if Lana has anything towards the end of the year.
Well, there was Patrick Rothfuss's new book. Has
that been
mentioned? Patrick Rothfuss's new book.
Yeah, mention that.
What was Narrow Road Between Desires? Is that what it's called?
I think so.
So yeah, it's not Doors of Stone, y'all, but it is something.
It's something. I just bought it, actually. I have it.
Yeah, mine. I ordered both the UK and the US copies. I'm still waiting on my UK copy.
I should get the UK one. Yeah, so this is a reimagining of The Lightning Tree.
But I believe it's from Bast's perspective.
Interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. So that's, I mean, that's interesting. I don't know if we're ever gonna get
And I
more of
really,
them.
really liked The Slow Regard of Silent Things, so
I
I'm
did
not
too.
mad about having another novella.
Yeah, no, same. I really liked it a lot too. So I'm excited that we have that. And let's see other things. Bookshops and Bone Dust by
Also, have you
Travis.
gotten the new edition of Name of the Wind?
No. What? What is that from?
I got this from Blackwell's.
Oh my goodness. Is that just like a new UK hardcover?
Yeah, well, Golan's did like a special Emporium edition, which is this but with sprayed edges. But at the regular like UK shops are selling it without the sprayed pages.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Cool.
So
I
that's on my
need
radar.
so I need that in my life.
They also did Liza Locke-Lamora.
Okay. Nice. Oh, I see it. Ooh. Oh, this is so pretty. Okay, I will be ordering that very soon. That's super
Good thing we did on
exciting.
my radar, huh?
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Um, yeah, no, I've got Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldry, which is the prequel to Legends and Lattes, which I didn't like as much. You didn't like Legends and Lattes. I loved it.
And I've heard a lot of people say the Bookshops and Bone Dust isn't as good as Legends and Lattes, and I didn't think Legends and Lattes was good, so
But if you liked Legends and Lattes, I think it's still worth reading. I just don't think it's as strong. I don't know. I think part of the problem is that because it's a prequel, it kind of removes a lot of the sense of stakes of like, oh, well,
what stakes? There were no stakes in Legends and Lattes. You know, because it's cozy.
yeah, no, but I feel like this movie, I don't know. I did enjoy it though. There's like a bookshop that
Oh, is
Viv
there in
is
Bookshops and Bone Dust? You astound me.
shockingly enough, that Viv is trying to help revitalize because she's stuck in a town recovering from an injury from battle. So
Sounds thrilling.
it's cute. We have System Collapse by Martha Wells, which is the latest Murderbot Diaries book, which I should have already read but have not. But I will read it because I love Murderbot. And then I put this on the list, but it's not actually very good because I read it since I made this list. Calamity by Constance Fay, which I think might be one of our. I think Amanda might be picking it for book club next year.
Something to look forward to.
Ugh.
Oh, I'm gonna dislike a book club book. What? So
No, but like,
unusual.
listen, it like for me, it was like painful to read at times. So I can
In
only
fairness, you
imagine.
told me that you despised Witcher season 3 and that I would too, and then I loved it. So
True. But there's like a line in this book that I want to say is something along the lines of like I can't remember the exact way it was said, but something like using the word nonplussed, but then saying I was entirely devoid of pluses or plus or something like that. I don't
so
know.
it's using nonplus incorrectly in two ways because it's grammatically incorrect and also the meaning is
Yeah,
incorrect?
yes.
Wow.
Yes. Stuff like that. Stuff like that. It's a sci-fi romance. It wasn't very good. So that was originally on my oh go check it out list, and then I've read it since I added that to
Did you know that my mom used nonplussed incorrectly in front of me twice?
so many people do it.
But my mother.
I know. I almost wonder if at some point, because it's become so common, that it's gonna
Oh, in
have
the
an
dictionary, after the real definition of nonplussed, it says North American in unofficial or North American colloquial or something is the way that people use it incorrectly. So it's literally like, and for dumb Americans, it also means this because they think it means this.
Interesting. Okay.
Y'all should be embarrassed that the dictionary did that.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was going to happen. Okay then. Well, yeah, so I don't necessarily recommend Calamity, but it was a time. I finished it. The only reason I didn't DNF it is because I knew we were probably going to have to read it for a book club. But we will be back. So you can December 12th is our next episode. I'll be here with Izzy and we're talking about a couple of Netflix holiday movies. I will say it's slim pickings this year because of the strike. So we're going to talk about two movies. Best Christmas Ever and Christmas as Usual. One of which is an imported movie from Europe and was dubbed. So like there are not a lot of holiday movie options this year. But so we'll be back December 12th talking about that. And then our final episode of the year will be all three of us talking about our best and worst of the year.
Sounds like Calamity's got a spot.
Yeah, it was not great. Yeah. So should be fun. Join us. This has been Chapter 3 Podcast. We're your hosts, Bethany and Liene. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Chapter 3 Podcast. And you can find us on our individual YouTube channels. Join us for our next episode. And this episode's bonus content will be available to patrons in the next few days. Thanks.